So thanks everyone again for coming to our webinar, the part 2 webinar about Waterloo and Laurier. And thanks for submitting all of your questions in advance. Just to shout out our sponsor again, we're really thankful for Pearson for sponsoring our Tuesday Talk series. And they have a bunch of digital study tools and resources that would be helpful to university students. So be sure to check them out on social media and enter their giveaways. Now, going over our agenda, I'll be going over a quick overview of LEAP, be introducing the Waterloo and Laurier panelists, having the panel discussion, and having a Q&A at the end. Just an overview of LEAP. We are a registered nonprofit and student-run organization that aims to help students bridge the gap between high school and post-secondary education. Since being founded last year, we've impacted over 10,000 students across 35 countries through 8 different initiatives. So if you would like to find out more about what we offer and how to get involved, feel free to check out our website. And speaking of initiatives, we actually have an upcoming initiative in August called Pathfinder, where students would be able to discover your interests in career paths, as we will be hosting a series of webinars as well as a case competition where there is up to $1,400 in cash prizes and an internship interview. So if you would be interested, feel free to check out the link at leapcanada.org/pathfinder. Now, as well, there will be 5 brownie points for the feedback form, which we will be sending near the end of the webinar. So stay tuned for that. Now let's get right in. I'll be happy to pass it on to Arvind, who would introduce himself.
All right. Hey guys, my name's Arvind Nagabairava. A little bit about me. I go to the University of Waterloo, currently pursuing a data science major through the computer science program. A couple of the things I've done. I was a software engineer and test at Ritual. I'm the founder at Virtuolio, which is an online yearbook signing tool you guys can check out. Currently, I'm working at a company called Method CRM, and I love Ultimate Frisbee.
Awesome. Now I'll pass it on to Bhavana.
Hey everybody, my name is Bhavana Ravichandran, and I'm currently in the Biotech CPA program at the University of Waterloo. I'm in my 2nd year, and currently I'm an intern at Coca-Cola. And I'm training to become a Don for the upcoming year. And additionally, I really love singing and listening to music, and I've traveled to 9 countries so far, and I hope to travel to more.
Great. Okay, I'll pass it on to Caddy.
Hi everyone, so my name is Katie and I'm a 2nd year student at Waterloo in the Accounting and Financial Management program. Some things about me, I was a staff accountant, so like in audit at EY in the winter for co-op. As well, I'm currently a consultant at 180 Degrees Waterloo, and I'm also going back to EY, but in the technology risk consulting area in the fall. But other than that, I am a self-proclaimed foodie, so if you do have any recommendations, would love to hear them, or if you want any suggestions from me for Waterloo or even Markham.
Great. And finally, we have Lionel.
Hey guys, my name is Lionel. I'm currently in my 3rd year at the Lazaretti School of Business and Economics in their BBA program at Waterloo Laurier University. I'm currently an incoming analyst for the mergers and acquisitions at Terranet, which is the infrastructure arm for OMERS. I was an equity analyst at the Laurier Investment Financial Association and also an incoming teaching assistant for Business 121, which is a 1st-year case-based course. I'm also a travel enthusiast. I've been to Europe, Central America, Asia, and I'm planning to go back to Africa next year.
Perfect. Thanks everyone for your introductions. Now just an overview of what we'll be covering during the panel. Do some introductory questions, talk about academics, extracurricular internship experiences, residence, and financial aid. So let's start off with, why did you choose Waterloo or Laurier? Let's start with Arvind.
All right, I chose Waterloo because of the data science program. When I was applying to university, the data science program was only offered at Waterloo and U of T. So I applied to both, and I ended up choosing Waterloo because of the co-op. It put it over the edge for me.
Great. Move on to Bhavana.
So when I was applying to university, I was really deciding between Waterloo and UBC. And I applied to commerce programs, and I really felt that Waterloo had the biotech CPA program, which was really unique to Waterloo. And it has a combination of both science and business courses. And the Waterloo CPA program really helps you get your CPA designation faster. And I really like the combination between of science and business. So that's why I chose Waterloo.
Awesome. Van Caddy.
Yeah, and for me, I think I chose AFM mainly because there's a lot of like business career opportunities out there. Like I know the title literally says like accounting, but a lot of people are branching off to like finance, entrepreneurship, even business analytics. So it was definitely a great place to kind of like explore the other areas as well, because mainly Waterloo has co-op. So you can definitely just like try something for 4 months and then try something completely new for another 4 months.
Great. And Lionel?
Yeah, so when I was in high school, I was deciding either to go to Ivy or Laurier and Schulich. So I chose Laurier because of their co-op program. One of the best things I found at Laurier was that we have the biggest business co-op program in all of Canada. And I thought that, like Katie said, it was a great experience having a job for 4 months and finding out what you want to do as a career and just being able to have that experience. So definitely the co-op program. And yeah.
Definitely seems like something in common with a lot of people. Moving on, let's talk about how the social life, environment, and culture is like at each of your schools. So Arvin?
Yeah, so Waterloo is super international. There's people here from all over the world. So plenty of diversity, and I'm sure you'll find people that you'll love to spend time with.
It's great to hear. Bhavna?
Yeah, so definitely Waterloo has a lot of opportunities for you to meet people from all sorts of places and different countries, and especially like since everything is online, it's really easy for you to talk to your friend and just like connect with them over the weekend, regardless of which country they are in. So that's definitely an advantage.
Great. Caddy?
Yeah, I would say Waterloo has a lot of like really outgoing people, especially in first year, because everyone wants to get to know other people. So don't be shy to like talk with them. I guess in terms of like clubs and extracurriculars, there are some areas that are kind of competitive, like certain clubs to join, but overall, there's still tons of different extracurricular activities that you could apply to.
Awesome. Lionel?
Yeah, so similar experience because we're literally down the street from each other. But yeah, it's a very diverse, Laurier is a very really diverse. I really enjoy the social atmosphere at Laurier. I find that one of the biggest reasons to go. There's a lot of clubs, both part of the faculty and part of this overall student union, and everyone's really friendly, and especially in first year when everyone's new and just wants to meet new people.
Great. Guess that transitions well to this question. What does your school offer for students before they enter first year? Start with Arvin.
Yeah, there's so much. The faculty-specific advisors, co-op advisors, general advisors, you name it. Anything you need help with, there are official resources that the university provides. I've made a list and I will put the link in the chat later, probably during the end of the call.
Awesome. Bhavna?
Yeah, so Waterloo definitely has like many mentorship programs. Like last year, when I was just entering university, Waterloo had their own peer mentorship program. So basically, I was paired up with an upper year student, and I really got to know more about what Waterloo really has to offer. And also in the School of Accounting and Finance, there are also like orientation programs. So there are definitely so many opportunities for you to just connect with your upper year students and get to know more about what your program has to offer.
Awesome. Katie?
Yeah, I guess just echoing Bhavna as well, there's like a ton of opportunities for mentorship. Like right now for incoming first years, we actually have like a Waterloo Ready for staff students. So it just helps kind of for you to get to know some of your peers. So like there's definitely a lot of events happening. And we also have like an event in September called like Crawl. And essentially like it's where all of the staff clubs come together. They kind of say like, this is our club and why you should join. So like, you don't really have to go out there and search for the clubs yourself. We really kind of try to bring it to you.
It's great to hear. Good to have a lot of things to look forward to. I guess from the Laurier side, Lionel?
Yeah, so specifically for the business program, we have called the Link Leadership Program, which is kind of a 1 week long case competitions where high school students come to Laurier, stay at one of our residences and participate in case competitions and get lectures from our upper years as well as professors. It's a really great opportunity to, well, first be introduced to the case method that Laurier is really based on. And also it really shows you if Laurier is for you. You're in campus, you're getting lectures from professors, the same lectures that you'll get when you're in first year. So it's a great opportunity.
It's great to hear. All right, now moving on to academics. I guess we can switch the order a bit. Start with Katie. Briefly describe your program and how it was in terms of difficulty.
Yeah, so I guess in terms of like AFM in general, it's really just an opportunity for you to kind of like fast track your designations if you are interested in like the CPA, so like the Chartered Professional Accountant, or like CBV, which is about like valuation, or CFA for like finance. Mainly they say it's fast tracking because there's a lot of courses that you take in undergrad that actually qualifies for the designation. So you get to save like a few years if you go to decide to like take the exams later on. But aside from that, in terms of difficulty level, I would say it's not too bad. During my first year in AFM, I probably spent like 1 to 2 hours a day studying at like the most, because first year tends to be like really, really light for you. But now that I'm in second year, I think that amount kind of increased, mainly because during midterms or like assignment times, I would probably spend like 2 to 4 hours a day. But then aside from that, it's pretty chill. So like there's not too much stress going on in terms of like the workload.
Good to hear. Can move on to Bhavna. I see you're also in the CPA program.
Yeah, sure. So as Katie mentioned, I also do courses and that help me work towards my CPA designation, and the courses in the CPA like that help me work towards the CPA designation are pretty light, like for the first year, and science courses that I do are also pretty light. There's more memorization in science, and all of the professors in the Faculty of Science also have office hours. So there's really lots of opportunities for us to ask the professors any questions, and also the TAs as well. So in terms of difficulty, if you really manage your time well, it's definitely doable.
It's good to hear. We can move on to Lionel.
Yeah, so well, in your first year, it's really, really packed, not with in terms of course, difficulty, but with assignments. You're taking around 3 business courses, and 2 of the business courses are 1 year long case competitions where you have to work in a group and there's a lot of tight deadlines. So in terms of the first year, I find that, and it's the same consensus with my peers as well. First year is the most content heavy, a lot of assignments, a lot of projects, a lot of presentations, a lot of reports writing, but it gets better in your second and third year where it's kind of becoming more based on, of course, studying, where you can just study 1 hour, 2 hours every single day and you'll be fine. But overall, it's the first year is the most difficult, and yeah.
It's good to hear that it gets a bit lighter. Yeah, finally, Arvind.
So the data science program is basically both a stats degree and a computer science degree. You end up taking 16-ish computer science courses and 15 math/stats courses. First year, I'd say the content isn't too much. The majority of the difficulties that come with first year is just getting used to the university, getting used to the university workload, the new environment. I mean, I guess some of you guys are probably going to stay home, but even then there is a lot of new stuff to get used to. Second year starts to get a bit harder. Second year for me was 5 CS courses, 3 math courses, and 2 stats courses. Second year, I think, is one of the most demanding courses in terms of your workload. So yeah, I'd say it's a lot. It's definitely a lot of work that you'll have to get used to.
All right, moving on to the next question. Maybe just briefly describe the co-op program and how did you prepare for your co-op terms? We can start with Katie again.
Yeah, I guess for my co-op, it was kind of different in terms of like you probably hear normally you would apply through like Waterloo Works, which is like an online site that Waterloo provides specifically for like all the internship opportunities. But for me, because I was going to work at like one of the big four accounting firms, I actually applied through their summer conferences. So I had an early head start, so I didn't have to go through that recruiting process again. But one thing that I would say kind of could be similar if you do go through the Waterloo Works process is to just network with people. I feel like I don't know how big it is in like other industries, but in business, networking is pretty important. I think because I went to so many of those events is what allowed me to get through that screening process in the first place. But of course, like the interview is also really important. So how I kind of prepared for that was I just like researched a lot about like the firm, their values, and then I would also practice like the typical interview questions like, tell me about yourself or tell me about a time when this and this happened. So I think just having a solid foundation of like what experiences you had before and how to answer those questions kind of helped with that interview process.
Definitely. Davna?
Yeah, so for the co-op program, it's definitely a lot of networking and also really preparing for your interview. I haven't done my first co-op term yet, but in the fall term, I'm going to be applying for my co-op term. And generally, from what I've heard from the School of Accounting and Finance, we definitely have to do lots of networking, really prepare for our interviews, and just like build a lot of connections and relationships with people that are in the firms that we want to work for.
That's exciting. Hopefully it goes well. Lionel?
Yeah, so it works a little bit different at Laurier. So you're not guaranteed a co-op placement, a co-op placement in the program itself. You have to apply after first year, and that varies depending on, of course, your grades, your extracurriculars, and overall any relevant work experience. But once you're in the co-op program, it's a similar process. You have to apply to jobs on our own website called Navigator. Specifically in finance, when it comes to interviews, you have to go through like typical interview prep, such as tell me about yourself, learn how to network with industry professionals from either buy side or sell side firms. And especially in finance, you really have to get down to your technical skills, depending on which position you're applying for, whether it's investment banking or as an investment analyst. You need to understand, of course, what they're looking for in candidates. Going through interview preps was really helpful when I was interviewing for OMERS, like a lot of big financial institutions. So that's why I recommend when it comes through interviews, going through your interview guides, going to network sessions, reaching out to alumni who are in the industry of interest and just reaching out to them to gather any tips.
Sounds great. Arvin?
Yeah, so finding your first co-op is challenging when you're in the tech industry because people are really looking for experience and times that you've demonstrated skills. And if you haven't, I mean, it is your first co-op program, so you don't have any job experience. So what they're looking for in particular is going to be examples of times you've shown the skills they're looking for. And usually that comes down to, here is an app I built which used this software which you guys are going to be working with, which you need me to work with. And just showing off, here is what I've done, this is what you need me to do. And this is a particular instance of the time I did that in the form of a project or a product or whatever else that is.
Those were all really helpful answers, thanks. Moving on, maybe just some brief advice on the application process and the AIF. We can start with Arvind.
Right, so I feel like one of the things I saw in the questions that came in before the event was about the math contests. If you're applying to the math or engineering faculties, it is pretty important that you definitely participate in those, particularly the Euclid. But if you're in the younger years, the Gauss, Cayley, Pascal, all of those lead up great to when you eventually write the Euclid. So make sure that you do those. In fact, when I was writing the AIF, I'm pretty sure a section of it specifically asked, did you write the Euclid A in grade 11 and B in grade 12? So there's that. One other thing about the AIF, just make sure that you're super honest on there. Again, keep in mind that it cannot hurt your chances. What they do is they, at least when I was applying, they take your grade and then your AIF adds on top of that to set you apart, to show some personality, give you some brownie points for being a well-rounded person. So make sure you definitely fill that out, be super thorough, just show off everything you've been working on for the past 4 or 5 years.
Definitely. For the business side, Katie?
Yeah, I guess just to echo Arvin, definitely for the AIF, just put anything that you can possibly think of. It doesn't have to be just volunteer or work achievements. Like if you won something from being in a competition for like music, for example, put it on. Or if you did something and you achieved something great in sports, then you should put it on. So they really just want you to see if you're a well-rounded person and you do something, just not just like studying in general. But I would say in terms of like AFM specifically, we do have like an interview process called like the AFMA. So it's essentially like a recorded online interview that you have. And then there's around, I think, 3 questions that you have to answer, but don't worry about it. They do provide the questions well in advance online. So you can really just practice it as many times as you want and even kind of like formulate the answers. So that's pretty much it for in terms of like AFM specific.
Thanks. Now let's move on to experiences. So internships, clubs, extracurriculars. What was your involvement in all of these things during the first 2 years? You can start with Bhavna.
So during my first year, I was a rep for SIPSA, which is the Science and Business Student Association. So basically, I had to help market the events that SIPSA was holding and also participate in the events that they were holding. And I also, I didn't really like take part in many clubs because I was just trying to get used to the online learning experience. But I've also taken up, I'm training, I'm going to be a Don in the upcoming year. So I'm doing some training over the summer break to really prepare for that experience.
It's great to hear. Lionel?
Yeah, so in my first year, I was a first year representative for the Laurier Investment Financial Association. It was a really great experience. I had an opportunity to really kind of pick which kind of industry and finance I really want to be in. So I chose kind of mergers and acquisitions as kind of an interest and to pursue. And that eventually led me to become like an equity analyst, being able to network with lots of alumni in Canada and both in the United States. I was also a part of the residential council for one of Laurier's residencies, which was a great experience. Really increased like the level of enjoyment in my first year. So it's definitely something I would recommend.
Sounds great. Arvin?
Yeah, so I tried out for the Ultimate Frisbee team in first year. I didn't make it, but I did play intramural Frisbee. It was super fun. A bunch of people from my high school that I played Frisbee with in high school, we made a team, and yeah, about once or twice a week, it was just going down to PAC, which is the physical activity complex, I think, and that's the gym, and yeah, it was a good time. So definitely try to make some time to just have ECs where you're just doing it for fun, just to be around people you like and have a good time with them.
Yeah, sports are definitely important. Caddy?
Yeah, for me, I think I also joined a lot of like the SAF club specifically in my first year and second year. But aside from that, I think sports is definitely important. So that's why I signed up for like intramural volleyball and dodgeball, just like for fun, even though I'm like not good at it at all. But as well, I also got like a WUSA fitness membership. So I also went to PAC to kind of like exercise like every 2 times maybe a week, and I would like bring my friends along so then we could like exercise together.
Sounds fun. Okay, let's move on to just general experiences, any regrets and cool opportunities for your program. We can start with Bhavna again.
Sure. So with my program, I'm able to join all of the clubs in both the science faculty and also any SAF clubs. So I generally found that like my program was able to allow me to really go and have more experiences and not just really be limited to just one faculty. I was able to go and try out all sorts of things with my program. So that was pretty cool.
Awesome. Lionel?
Yeah, so well, one really cool opportunity is, well, I actually got accepted like 10 minutes ago is the Laurier Student Investment Fund and the Laurier Startup Fund. These two funds are actively managed by students, and your job as an analyst to find, of course, securities are undervalued and make a thesis on why you should invest in them. So it's something that's really cool and something that's not, you don't really get to do as a student, and it introduces you to the venture capital space as well as investment management, which is an industry that's really cool. I guess one of the biggest regrets I had in my first year was picking courses where I thought it was easy, but not necessarily interesting. And that resulted in, of course, subpar grades and a lot of, not going to lie, like a lot of boring times in lectures. But yeah, so pick courses that you're passionate about and you'll do fine in them.
Yeah. Congrats for getting in, and definitely echo that. Move on to Arvin.
Yeah, so I wish I checked out more clubs in first year. I spent most of my time, just studying for my course load. But I really, really wish I could have spent time doing things like the lifeguarding club and really done more swimming in first year. Yeah, I just wish I got out a bit more. Waterloo might not seem like the greatest place to be in terms of, nightlife or food or whatever, but there is plenty. And I wish I got to check out more of that before we got sent home.
Yeah. We'll end up with Katie.
Yeah, I guess in terms of like opportunities, we also have like a student investment fund and a student venture fund that you can apply starting in your second year. So that's pretty something that's interesting if you are interested in like learning more about finance. But I think one regret that I really had was just not having the courage to apply or try as many things that I wanted. I think when I came into first year, I had that mentality where, oh, I'm not good enough. Or if I'm competing against like second years or third years, then I would think like, oh, I don't have any experience. So I wouldn't even bother applying because I just thought that I would just get rejected. But I think it's just important to kind of put yourself out there and apply. Like, even if you do end up not getting accepted, at least you could say you tried, instead of always thinking like, oh, what if I actually did apply and did get in the future? So I would say just like, if there's anything that you even have a small interest in, just go for it and see how it turns out.
Yeah, definitely put yourself out there. I guess we can talk about what extracurriculars should I join? So any recommendations that you guys may have? Start with Daphne.
Sure. So there are definitely so many different extracurriculars you can join. You can even join sports or any extracurricular that is related to your faculty. WUSA does have a list of clubs that you can see before you join university. Definitely take advantage of all of these clubs and really go out there and make some new friends and join the sports or any faculty related clubs when you start your university term.
Awesome. Lionel?
Yeah, so what I recommend is, of course, finding your faculty specific clubs, so that at Laurier, our student society is the Lazarus Student Society. So there's a lot of clubs that you can join your first year, and it really helps you kind of pick what specialization you want to do in your third and fourth year and what industry you might want to pursue overall. So that's something I would really recommend. You not only, of course, get a better understanding of the type of business you want to work for, but also meet other students in the same program. Another recommendation I would say is definitely explore clubs that you might not think that you usually join. For me, I joined, I think, some medieval club in my first year. So it was really interesting. I really enjoyed it. I met a lot of my friends. I'm actually living with my roommate. So definitely put yourself out there. Don't be afraid to kind of try something that you're not usually going to do. But yeah, definitely put yourself out there.
Yeah, definitely agree. Arvin?
I'd say orientation is a great way to meet new people. Everyone's super enthusiastic to be there and meet new people and help give first years a wonderful time. Also, if you're looking for a full list of all of the clubs at Waterloo, that is one of the links in the doc. I'm going to paste that link in the chat again. So you can check that out. You can also just find it if you look up a list of UW clubs WUSA, and WUSA is the Waterloo Undergraduate Student Association. They have loads of good resources out there. So yeah, that's a definitive list.
Great to have handy. I'll end off with Katie.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of like any clubs that you want to join, I think I touched upon this before, how like we have specifically a club crawl where we just like show off all of our staff clubs for you to join. But I also recommend you joining some like Facebook group pages. I feel like we always post something saying like, oh, we're hiring for here or apply for this club here. So I think Facebook is something that you might want to browse through if you want to join like those type of groups. But other than that, I would say also to try to join groups outside of just like your faculty or program. So like, even if it's something that you don't have to put on your resume, like I think I joined like a food club in first year. And essentially it's just like every week they would say like, oh, there's a new restaurant that you could try, and they would give like discounts. So you can actually try the food out at a cheaper price. So it's just something fun to join. So, and you can meet people like outside of your program and circle.
Yeah, that sounds really fun. We'll end off with, are there any first-year internships or research opportunities? We'll start with Bhavna.
There are definitely so many first-year internship opportunities. And now, because of COVID, everything is online, so you can definitely like work remotely for a company that's located somewhere else. So for me, for my internship, I had networked and I had asked around, and I was able to secure an internship. And there are definitely so many different opportunities. You can even apply online, or you can just like ask your family or friends, and you should be able to find something.
Okay, thanks for that. Lionel?
Yeah, so there's a lot of resources both in the Career Center. I would really recommend, of course, reaching out to alumni on LinkedIn. Alumni are usually the most helpful tool I find when it comes to job search. They're your first point of contact, and it might eventually lead to, of course, interviews. That's how I got an interview at BMO Capital Markets for investment banking. Also, professors. Here's a little tip: be nice to your professor, show up to lectures, talk with them after class, get that rapport building, because when you're in your later years, they might be, of course, another point of reference, and they might refer you to other alumni, both internationally and domestic, that will help you get, of course, your last co-op or eventually full-time offer.
Building relationships early is really important. Arvin?
Yeah, I'd say that your courses would have there's a lot of people that you can get in your courses that will have more knowledge, especially if you feel like you don't know what you're doing. So yeah, you'll have some platforms that your courses will operate on. So, for math, eng courses, you'll have something called a piazza. There's equivalents of that for other courses, I'm sure, just the student forums. So just ask around, put yourself out there, let people know what you're looking for, and someone will get back to you.
Awesome. We'll end with Katie.
Yeah, I think just like echoing everyone else, definitely put yourself out there and don't be afraid to talk to your professors. I feel like they're really great if you want some like research project, but at the same time, you can talk to them about like stuff outside of school as well. I feel like professors are sometimes really inspiring if you want to hear about like life stories as well. So just don't be afraid to like ask for help.
Definitely agree. Okay, now we'll move on to our last topic, residence. We can start with Lionel. What was your residence experience like at Laurier?
Yeah, so I lived in an apartment. It's actually, the apartment's called Kings Court Residence. It's no longer a residence anymore for Laurier, but it's an apartment style. Yeah, it's apartment style. I lived around 10-minute walk from campus. It was a great experience. The rooms were really well furnished. It was nice, but one of the downsides is that you don't really build that community within your floor because everyone's doing their own thing. You're far from campus, so you don't really establish that community. In my opinion, I find that dorms have that community, so it's really easy to, of course, socialize with your peers, meet people outside of your program, which is really important because as later years, when you're in upper years, you don't want to find that all your friends are in the same program. That's a tip from a third year right now. So yeah, so definitely dorms are a way to go. You're closer to campus and you have that community.
Awesome. We'll move on to Arvin.
So I lived in CMH, which is Claudette Miller Hall, and I'd say it's one of the nicer looking residences at UW. And so the two newest residences on campus, if I remember correctly, are CMH and MKV. Super great places to live. They've got like nice high ceilings. The food is pretty cool. V1 and Rev are two of the other buildings. They're a bit older, but they're a lot closer to campus buildings that you'll have your courses in. You should also check out the university colleges. They are closer to basically everything. They're at the center of campus, more or less. Also something to look into. But yeah, if you want to commute, also consider that. Just make sure you look into all of your options and figure out what's best for you.
Yep. And we'll end it with Katie.
Yep, so I lived in MKV, which is like Mackenzie King Village, and it's like a suite style. So I think it was really interesting because I didn't get a meal plan, so I had to cook everything. But I think MKV was probably one of the better suite styles compared to the other one called UWP, mainly because we do get our own room. So we do get that privacy while we can still live with like our friends and roommates. Whereas I think UWP, there are some rooms that are like bunk beds, so you might have to share the room as well. But yeah, I definitely say like MKV was one of the funner places if you do enjoy cooking or just want to make some like random memories from like the cooking disasters that you might have. But aside from that, if you do want to do live in a dorm, I definitely recommend CMH as well, especially because I think it's like the only place that has floorboards for your room. So that's a big plus, at least for me.
Yeah, I can't imagine cooking everything by myself. But moving on to that, we can talk about the meal plan system. Bhavna, would you like to get started?
Sure. So for meal plan systems, I don't really know much about how it is for residences, but there are definitely many options for off-campus, there are places to go outside of the university residence. And you can definitely look up, there are many places you can look up, like there are many postings on Instagram and on Facebook. So there's, I believe it's called U Waterloo Food Services. That's an Instagram page that has all of the offers that are available for university students.
Sounds good. Lionel?
Yeah, so I'm going to speak from, I guess, the apartment style. So when you're living in an apartment style, you don't really get a meal plan. It's kind of expected that you bring your own groceries, make your own food, but you do have what we call flex dollars. That can be used for, of course, any canteen, the food courts, basically anything on campus that takes cash you can pay for. But whereas if you live on a dorm, of course, you need to have a meal plan, no flex dollars. So that's kind of the trade-off in between. But in my opinion, I think I prefer the flex dollars because sometimes the food at the canteen is not the greatest. So you have the option to buy other stuff without spending extra cash.
Great. We'll end it with Arvind.
Right. So at Waterloo, depending on where you're living on first year, the meal plan is either required or just optional. And there are two different kinds of meal plan options based on which of those two you fall under. If you live in a building in a residence type room, which doesn't have a full kitchen, you will be required to have a meal plan. And the meal plans come in 3 different levels, light, hearty, average, something like that. But I'd say any of those would keep you fed all term long easily. I'm a pretty big guy, but even the lowest of those would keep me fed all term long. I'd say it definitely is nice to have a good solid meal plan just to take that, and even if you do have a kitchen, just to have the option of picking up some food at any time between classes if you're in a rush, whatever.
Good to hear. Okay, we'll quickly go through the final 2 slides. What and how is transportation for getting around campus? Any recommendations for commuters? We can start with Bhavna.
So for getting around campus, I've heard that you can really take the bus. It's cheaper and easier. And I have not used any of these facilities, but I've heard that the bus is the way to go.
All right, Lionel.
Yeah, so well, it might be different from Waterloo because Waterloo has a lot bigger campus, but in my opinion, you don't really need a car in Waterloo. A lot of things that you need, like grocery stores, are within that little, I guess, little bubble between UW and Laurier. So you don't really need a car to get from point to point B. The only thing difficult is, of course, getting back home, but usually taking the GO bus really solves that. It leads you to straight to square one if you're from the GTA. And of course, once you're square one, there's a lot of other routes that connects to it. So you can go back home from either Toronto, Vaughan, Richmond Hill. So in my opinion, like you don't really need a car. It'll be great if you do, but don't buy a car just for coming to Laurier or Waterloo.
Yeah. All right. We'll end it with Arvind.
So to get around campus itself, there and just the Kitchener-Waterloo area, the Ion train and the GRT buses, both of those you pay for as part of your fees. I think it's something along the lines of about $100 that you pay for as part of the fees you pay at the very beginning of a term, and that'll cover as much travel as you want between the Ion and the GRT buses. Super handy.
It's great to hear. Okay, our last topic, financial aid and scholarships. So briefly touch on maybe some resources both externally and at the university that are available. We can start with Katie.
Yeah, I guess on the Waterloo website, there's like a whole list for financial aids if you want to like browse through and you can apply. You can also like filter for like specific ones you want to look to, but otherwise you can also try to be creative. I know there's a lot of competitions that you can also attend, and usually for like the first, second, or third places, they have a lot of cash prizes up to like $1,000 or even more than that. So that's just like a fun way if you want to also earn some cash for that.
It's great to hear. Lionel?
Yeah, so of course you have your entrance scholarship for your average, high school average, but there's also numerous other scholarships on the Laurier page, as well as if you apply for the general profile under your Loris, you get to apply for all scholarship that Laurier thinks you're qualified for. So that's really helpful. Also, make sure to fill out, of course, bursary forms. That's an easy way to get free money. I myself got, I think, $2,000 just from applying for it. So that's something that you should be aware of.
Perfect. Move on to Arvind.
Yeah, so as Lionel said, that's also a thing at Waterloo. If you apply you basically just have to fill out one form that you submit that qualifies you for all of the scholarships that are offered, the scholarships and the bursaries. But other than that, there's one thing in particular that I would recommend you apply for separately, and that's the remote learning bursary that gives you up to $500 based on your needs. I personally bought myself the monitor that I have now and the iPad that I'm using for this call. And the $500 bursary did help me cover some amount. So definitely check that out.
It's great to hear. We'll end it with Bhavna.
Yeah, so as everybody said, there are many opportunities for you to find like financial aid or scholarships. You can apply for OSAP, or you can also, you'll automatically also be considered for any scholarships based on your average that you have from like high school. And you can, so besides getting the automatically considered scholarship, you can also apply to any of the scholarships that Waterloo has on their website.
Awesome. Thanks so much for all of your answers. I know that we are at 9 o'clock, but I will allow like maybe 5 to 10 minutes of Q&A. I've seen some messages pop up in the chat. So if you have any questions, feel free to drop them right now. We'll hopefully like get through as many as we can. But firstly, I saw one question that was directed at Arvind that I believe you wanted to speak to during the panel. So it's from Mike saying, how important for side projects as an engineer student? How important is it to find co-op?
Right, okay. So side projects are important, but it also depends on what kind of job you're looking for. A lot of jobs are just looking for a person that can come in, be a good person to work with, and just have like quick adaptability and flexibility, stuff like that. If you're looking for some of the more technical positions, I feel like that's where you need projects and stuff like that. If you're looking at software development, anything that involves like lab work or machinery, that's where you need projects or previous work experience. But there are plenty of jobs out there that aren't looking for any kinds of projects or previous work experience. In fact, I got my first job at Ritual as a QA intern with no significant projects that were related to the work they were doing there. So it helps, but it's not absolutely necessary. Yeah.
Awesome. Now, if just like one of the panelists want to answer any of the following questions, one we have, do you have any tips for living with roommates?
I do, because I had a really nightmare roommate situation where I had to call the police on them. But make sure you set boundaries. Make sure that you let them know what you're okay with and what you're not. Make sure that, of course, if you're uncomfortable with their behavior, you let them know in advance instead of letting them kind of spiral. So communication is really important. So that's something I would recommend.
Awesome, thanks. Another question, what is the best cafeteria food or just the campus food spots that you would recommend?
Sure, I guess I could take that. Honestly, I think in the campus specifically, there aren't too many places. I think there's only one area that I kind of forgot the name of. I think it's called like SLC building, and then there's like little restaurants there that you could like try. There's like Subways or like the typical like the full food. But I think other than that, right next to Waterloo, there's like this UW Plaza, and that has like a ton of different restaurants that you can go to. Like I recommend Nuri Village is like a Korean place, and it's super, super good and really, really crowded all the time. As well, there's like this noodle place that has like potato noodles. So like I recommend like maybe not try the campus food specifically, but just go across the street and there's like the plaza and you could try like almost all the restaurants there.
Sounds great. Let's see. Another question. Oh, I think it's been answered in chat. Let me just scroll up.
Well, I just remember there was one other question that I said I was going to answer. It was about how much, like, what do I do to prepare for math and going into university? It's going to sound kind of dumb, but it's honestly better if you don't. Counterintuitively, like your university, the summer that you get between grade 12 and university is pretty much the last summer break you get ever if you're doing co-op, and you only have like one left if you're doing one of the co-op sequences that gives you a term. I think AFM has one term off before you start doing co-op stuff, which is the first summer after first year. It depends, different co-op sequences, whatever. But honestly, if like the second you get to university, you're working week after week after week. If any of the panelists disagree with me, I would be happy to see that happen, but I don't think it will. Just honestly take your time, have a good summer, do whatever you want, just really relax. If you really think that you need to do everything you can to get good at math CS stuff, look online. All of the courses are being offered online. You can get ahead if you want to for some of the courses, because all of the recordings for the lectures are posted online for, I think, Math 137, 135, which is the first year algebra and computer science courses. I'm sure some of the other courses across faculties are posted online lecture materials if you want to. Would not recommend, but if you want to.
Definitely enjoy the summer. We'll talk about what is the biggest misconception about both universities. So maybe Lionel and someone from Waterloo can answer.
Well, Laurier is really well known. Well, not, I shouldn't say well. Okay, yeah, I guess well known for their party culture per se. If you guys hear about, of course, St. Patrick's homecoming on Ezra, there's massive street parties and lots of people get in trouble for public drinking. So although that might be the perception of Laurier, that we're just a party school, I would kind of disagree with that. There's of course times and places where all schools have that party mentality, but for the most part, when it's coming to midterm seasons, when it comes to finals, projects in the middle of the semesters, I would argue that no way. There might be some people that parties every single weekend. I want to meet them, but I don't, and I kind of wish I have a little bit more free time. But yeah, no. So Laurier has that misconception of being a party school, but I kind of don't agree with that.
All right, anyone from Waterloo?
I guess I'll take this question as well. I feel that many of my friends that went to other universities were like, "Oh, Waterloo doesn't really have much of a social life. People, they're always just studying the whole time." I generally never found that to be true. There were many opportunities for me to really meet new people and really get to know new people outside of people that I already knew. So by joining different clubs or attending different meetings, I was really able to make new friends and just spend a lot of time outside of really studying for my courses. So definitely, yeah, this is one common misconception.
It's great to hear, thanks. Another question, can you use the meal plan for the plaza?
Ooh, I can take this one. It depends on where you go. On campus, all of the food places are going to come out of your meal plan money, which is the amount that you spend like as your meal plan. Outside of that, all of the money that you spend will come out of your flex dollars. Flex dollars are used for your print store, like the Waterloo print store, Waterloo merch for like your hoodies and stuff. There are some places off campus that accept your Watt card, but it will come out of your flex dollars, not your meal plan. I think the Auntie's Kitchen, one of the pizza places, so those places do exist, but it's the equivalent of just using your just a credit card or money as opposed to flex dollars because it doesn't come out of your meal plan. So I don't know a lot of people that would choose to do that, but it is an option.
Awesome, thank you. I don't see any other questions that haven't been answered in chat. So I think we will wrap up here.